Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's staying safe and healthy out there right now with this craziness that has hit the world. Today I'm going to start something a little bit different. Here in Washington State, we have been on a state-imposed, more or less, lockdown. I guess the last couple of weeks, all non-essential work is shut down, fishing is shut down. So me as a fishing guide and charter boat captain, I've been basically stuck at home the last couple of weeks. I've actually been at home about the last 3 weeks because I basically shut down my own business maybe a week before the state did it for me. But anyway, it's been a crazy time. Never thought I would have lived to see what we've been seeing, but I've kind of struggled to adjust to it. Been really lazy for a while, sitting around, tying some flies, playing some video games, just hanging at the house with my son. My wife's still going to work. She's essential. But anyway, I've been giving a lot of thought to making some videos, and frankly, I've just been kind of overwhelmed with everything that's been going on. I've been kind of lazy. But I'm going to get started with it today. So what I'm going to do, ordinarily I just do sea run cutthroat flies and keep it pretty simple. This sort of lockdown series, I don't know what it's all going to cover yet. I'm going to tie some flies, talk some fishing, probably do some rambling. It's going to be a little more probably informal than my normal, not that my videos are formal by any stretch, but I just kind of want to keep it relaxed. Like I said, I'll tie some flies, talk fishing, talk gear. I'll try to do a video. I'm going to try to do one every day here for the next while, since people are sitting at home and probably about as bored as I am. Maybe it'll give some folks something to do, fishing related, since up here in the Northwest we don't have the option of going fishing. So I'll probably maybe do look at some gear, look at some fly tying stuff. Just basically ramble and tie some flies and see what happens here. So today I am going to start out with a sea run cutthroat fly because that's what I do the most of as a sea run cutthroat guide here in Puget Sound. This little pattern, I don't know what it's called. I've been calling it orange goofy, just for lack of better term. I saw a picture of this fly on Instagram 5-6 months ago. I believe it was High Flyer. Doubt he'll ever watch this video, but I want to give him credit. I do not know what the original pattern is called. I was just scrolling through Instagram one day and saw a picture of basically this fly. It was a little bit different. It was tied in like a purple and black combination. I believe the guy that posted it is a trout fisherman in Colorado. But as soon as I saw it, I looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, that's got sea run cutthroat written all over it. His pattern is tied a little bit differently. He adds a hackle around the diamond braid body, and looks like he uses some sort of dubbing and does some trimming and stuff at the head. Me being the lazy schmuck that I am, I've kept it pretty simple. I went with Estaz at the head, but it's a very simple fly. Basically 4 ingredients. It's got some rabbit strips, some flat orange diamond braid, rubber legs, and some Estaz. Now this is the only color combination that I've really tied this in. When I saw his picture on Instagram, I took a screenshot of it, and not long after that I tied up a couple. I used some dubbing at the head instead of Estaz, which I didn't really like the look of, at least the way I did it. But I threw them in my box, and not too long after that, I was out one day just fun fishing, and I tied one on and started catching fish. Since then, I've kind of messed with it a little bit more, and it's become a very good fly for me. In fact, right up until my last trip on the Sound, this was my absolute top producing fly. Now what this thing looks at in the water, I have no idea. It's got bunny, it's got rubber legs, it's got some dumbbell eyes, so it gives it some jigginess. I couldn't even begin to guess what the fish think it is. But what I can tell you is it has been catching fish. Sea run cutthroat have been all over it when they really wouldn't touch anything else. And I don't know if it's a movement thing, a color thing. if they're just curious because it looks so weird. I have no idea, but this thing was just flat out the only thing getting it done. So I figured why not start with this one. I'm using originally I tied this with just a normal olive rabbit strip. I think it was actually a black barred olive. But I went to this bling rabbit strip. And if you're not familiar with these, I believe it's a Hairline product. This bag I have doesn't have the label on it, but I'm pretty sure it's Hairline. And essentially it's just a normal rabbit strip, only it has flash. Glued to the hide. And this probably doesn't make a big deal and big difference. And ordinarily, I'm not one to really get into the finer tweakings of flies, I guess. But I had a trip a while back with a couple of my favorite customers, and lady in the bow was fishing one and doing really well, and the lady in the stern was picking up fish here and there, but it was pretty clear that this pattern was doing much better. So finally we switched her up to one of these as well, and when I did, I had a couple of these tied with a bling rabbit strip, just for giggles, and it may just be placebo, I don't know, but it really seemed like the one with the bling rabbit strip started out producing the one without it. We were going through this, kind of working this stretch of beach a few times over, and the lady in the bow was catching some fish, but the lady in the stern was picking up more fish, and being that she was in the stern, she was kind of, being the second one to show these fish the fly. So who knows if it was a matter of the bling, the flash made some sort of weird difference, if it was just us imagining things, or if it was just simply by the second time the fish saw the same fly, they were angry enough to eat it, or I don't know. But basically I've been tying it with the bling strip since, and the bling strip is cool. The only thing that I find is that the hide with the flash glued to it is a little more, it's not as durable. It seems like the flash will cause a break point, and after a while, a bunch of casts, banging on some rocks, catching some fish and stuff, the hide will kind of break the flashy part, and I don't know yet. It's not a huge deal. This is a pretty easy fly to tie, so it's not like it's a big game changer, but it is worth pointing out. So anyway, to get started, this is tied on this is a size 4 Daiichi 2546, kind of my just generic standard saltwater hook. I'm using some Vivas 10-aught orange thread, and I'm just going to start and put down a thread base here. It was pretty amazing how well this fly fished. I would tie this onto customers' lines, and they'd kind of look at it goofy and look at me goofy, but man, this thing, I made a lot of believers. So it just kept catching fish when nothing else would. So sort of like tying in a clouser, I'm going to tie a little thread bump here. This is where I'm going to put the dumbbell eyes. These are size small, not pseudo eyes or real eyes, but whatever you got, it doesn't matter. And like I do with all these, I put some glue on there. I put a lot of glue on the eyes. Oh, that's a lot of glue. As I've mentioned before in some videos, I hate clouser style flies or dumbbell eyes that aren't tied in super secure and they rotate around the hook. It just drives me absolutely nuts. So I do anything I can think of to try to keep them secured. So I'm just going to get this eye lashed down here, and then I'm going to probably wrap it too much. I've been accused of that. People think I'm nuts for how many times I wrap these things, but it's just, it's all in my head. But I absolutely hate when these things just are loose and they slide all around the hook in different positions and the fly doesn't swim quite right, which ultimately probably it might help in some cases, since wounded bait fish and wounded food looks good to these fish. And if the thing's swimming cockeyed or whatever, it probably doesn't matter. So I'm just doing a bunch of crisscross wraps mixed in with some helicopter wraps to kind of suck those threads in tight. And then I'm going to just take a look and make sure this thing is not sitting all super crazy. And then I'm going to put some more glue on it because why not? It was really, really amazing how well this fly fished. I'm not one of those people that thinks I have this all figured out, and I'm not one of those people that goes way into the depth as to what the fish are doing and why. What I know is that this fly was working, whether it was profile or just the goofiness of it or the color combination or who knows what. But there was literally, we would work these stretches of beaches with different flies and see some fish activity, not touch much, come back through, tie this one on, and they would start catching fish. There was one day I had a single guy in the boat, and there was fish sipping something, not like slashing bait fish or not jumping. I mean, they were sipping, and they were in really shallow water pretty close to the beach, and I had every thought that they were cutthroat. Finally we went through a handful of flies and tied this thing on, and turns out they were blackmouth, resident Chinook, and we caught a few of those in a really strange spot on it's a really strange fly for those fish to want to eat, but they wouldn't touch anything else, so whatever. You know, I can't ever bring myself to go into, like, you know, oh, it's a falling barometer, so the fish they're keyed in on this or blah blah. All I know is that this thing has been working. I keep things ultra simple. All right, so I got that good and lashed down. I'm going to bring that thread back just a little further there. And first up, I'm going to put in some orange diamond braid. I'm just going to tie this in right behind the eyes, wrap it back, and then wrap the body forward. Like I said, the original version that I saw had a hackle, looked like a saddle, almost a dry fly hackle of some sort wrapped over the top of the braid, but for my purposes, I didn't think that was necessary. So I'm just going to wind this up towards the eyes. Tie that off behind the eyeballs there. This is going to be kind of the tie-in point of a couple different materials, so you don't have to worry about it being super pretty. I actually like to kind of fold it over and do a couple more ties as well. Sometimes I have coated this at this point with UV resin, like I do a lot, or even like Sally Hansen's, but I haven't found this to be any sort of a weak spot, so I'm just not all that concerned with it. So now I'm going to take my thread and just get it up by the eye of the hook, more or less just to get it out of the way. And next step is I'm going to take this bling strip, and I don't know how well you can see this. I actually trimmed the end of this into a point. I've watched videos and I've read that this gives it a little more action versus having just the square cut off normal part of the hide. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but I do it anyway. And then I'm going to invert my hook, and this, for whatever reason, this is the part of this fly that I struggle with the most. You just basically, I'm going to pierce it through the hook, and I want to kind of get an idea of how long I want it. I don't want this rabbit to stick out 4 inches behind the hook. It's just going to foul, and it would cause short strikes and stuff anyway. I really only want it about like that, you know, an inch behind the hook, you know, maybe a hook length and a half. So I'm just going to kind of try to center it. And this part, I don't know why, I really struggle with trying to get this thing centered. It drives me nuts as I'm pushing my vise around. And then I'm going to actually take the hook out of the vise for a second and push it through the hide. There we go. This part's kind of there. Just get it through the hide. It doesn't have to be in position or anything. Just get it in there and then put the hook back in. And then I'll flip it upside down. With the hook, with the dumbbell eyes on the top of the hook, it's going to ride hook point up. And so I want the olive, the bunny, to be on the top of this fly as it rides in the water. So I'm going to take my thread and get it back to where I'm going to tie this in right behind the eye. And I've done this several different ways. I like to just sort of snug this into position and then sort of pull the rabbit to where it can have a bit of a tie-in point. And then I'm going to do a little more rabbit out of the way. There we go. I'm going to do kind of a loose wrap to kind of get it into place, and then my next couple of wraps are going to start getting tighter and tighter. I really want to get this kind of locked down. Yeah, it looks about right lengthwise. So I'll do 6, 8 wraps, kind of tightening, and tightening. And then I'm going to trim this rabbit strip off. And then I like to kind of go and do a few more helicopter wraps so I can kind of really bind that little tag end of hide down. I see my thread is over the corner of my eyeball here. At the corner, it's round. Come on, where are you at? There we go. No, one more. There. Okay. Make sure that rabbit is kind of centered and positioned the way I want it. And it is. So, next up, I'm going to put in some rubber legs, because bunny and rubber legs, you just, can't go wrong with that. These are some orange legs. They're actually like a orange and chartreuse. Half of them is chartreuse, and then the last inch and a half is orange. It's what I have, and since I can't go to the fly shop and get anything different, this is what I'm using. I'm going to put these rubber legs in. There's no exact science to this. I don't want it all the way to the end of the rabbit, but wherever looks good. I'm going to put 2 on each side, and I've got about 3/4 of an inch of rubber legs. I'm going to tie these 2 in on this side, do a wrap or 2, and kind of get them where I want it. I just kind of want them flared off the side as best I can. Just tied down and trimmed off, and then I'll go with the other side. If I can pick these things up. So I hope everybody out there is staying at home and not traveling all over the place if you don't have to, and risking yourself and others. This is all just, it just seems like a bad dream, man. My wife is still working, and I hate it. I'm gonna tie the other side in. Get those kind of where I want them. They are roughly the same length. A bit of a homebody anyway. If I'm not fishing, I'm generally just at home. But man, it's been tough just sitting here. Okay. So, well, yeah, stick your finger in your hook. How many times do you guys do that? You go to sweep it around and bury a hook in your finger. And last material is just going to be some Petite Estaz. This is just a orange. Tie that in right behind the eyes as well. And this fly reminds me of a sea run bugger. In fact, I have a video, I think, for that. That one has a marabou tail, and it's a little bit different. But and then I'm just going to kind of wrap this. I'm going to kind of cover the the eyes. Again, this doesn't have to be, does not have to be super duper pretty by any stretch. I just want this to kind of cover everything up, and then tie that down. Like I said, I originally used some dubbing because that's what the original pattern called for. And that caught fish, no problem, but Estaz is just so simple and it looks cool. And the only downside is it's kind of hard to get a super clean head with this because the fibers on the Estaz kind of go wanky all over the place. And not that it matters one bit, but when the camera is zoomed in close on the head of your fly, you notice these things. So I'll just kind of clean that up a little bit, make my head, and then whip finish it. Not using any glue. I've really slowly been going away from using any sort of head cement. In the thousands and thousands and thousands of flies that I've tied and fished, I can't think of one time where the thread wraps came loose or started disintegrating there. My flies fall apart from the beach and the salt water and everything else long before that ever happens. So I've really sort of phased that out. But that's it. Really simple pattern in the water. It's gonna ride hopefully like this. I like to use a little, these are size small eyes, but I think mediums are actually probably a little better suited to really inverting this fly and letting it ride. But you know, then the fish, they look up and they see that flashy bling strip, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that will do it for this one. Give this one a shot, add a few to your box. If they work for you, I'd love to hear about it. If anybody has any requests of flies that they would like to see tied, I'm not going to just do sea run cutthroat flies. I'll probably do maybe some albacore flies. Who knows? Whatever strikes my fancy. I'm basically just trying to provide something, some content for people that are stuck at home in this madness. So if there's a saltwater pattern you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. I'll gladly take a look, and if I have the materials and it's something I can pull off, I will definitely go for it. Like I said, I'm going to mix things up, just probably ramble some, talk some fishing, might do some gear talk, some gear review. Who knows? You know, if I'm going to try to do a video every day if I can, but I'm going to be struggling to find content for if I stick to just one topic. So this is just going to be sort of an informal, tie some flies, do some BSing, and hopefully maybe give you guys a few minutes of not thinking about the madness of the world. So here it is, the orange goofy, for lack of better term. If you know what this pattern is called, let me know. I have no clue. Like I said, I do not claim any sort of claim on this fly. I didn't invent it. Copied this as I do with just about everything. I'm not out here inventing flies, that's for sure. So I hope everybody is staying safe out there and staying healthy. And thanks for watching.